Manchester United finally got a win over the line yesterday in a dramatic fashion versus Copenhagen. A win for Sir Bobby and maybe the start of ANANA's career. Good defensive performances from Varan, Maguire, but not a very convincing performance by United, especially considering it's FC Copenhagen that they were playing. But the interesting thing is there's a few stories to emerge. Garnacho has caused quite a stir online. A lot of people are not happy with Garnacho, and I'm very happy with Garnacho because he scruffed up the spot. And there's a lot of people like sending him abuse about doing that, but my player, ultimate shithousery there. We've also got other things to talk about. Antony's future. Ten Hag looking at right wingers, wanting a right winger, having a go at Antony. We'll speak about that. Obviously speak about Erikson and the fact that Manchester United needs a new centre mid that's good in possession, because we could see what Erikson brought to the team, and that's clearly what we need. So today's video is mostly going to be talking about 5 things we learned from that Copenhagen win. I thought I'd do my 5 things we learned live a little bit more these days, just because I feel like when I do 5 things we learned live, we can kind of have a little bit of a conversation about some of the points that I'm making and see if you guys agree with me when we dive into the game. We will get into the news, transfer news, takeover news, general news stories as well. So this will be the first of 2 live streams today. This will be a shorter live stream in the sort of 25-minute range, and then we're going to have a longer live stream tonight with guests on what we'll talk about United and things happening. So please do smash that like button if you haven't already, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. I don't normally go live at this time, but I'm thinking of getting in the habit of doing a midday live and then a 6 o'clock live. See how that works for people as well. So big up people. We've got a new person in the chat. This is my first stream. I only saw the channel yesterday. I'm excited. Big up everybody in the chat. Smash the like buttons if you want glazes out, and smash the like button if you want to see some better football, because let's be honest, we won yesterday. The second half was a lot better. It was counter-attacking football. It's not the most sustainable style. We're only, we've won 3 games in a row. I'm happy with that. Players are returning from injuries. I think when you think about it, we did enough to win that game 3-0. Considering how bad we played, we didn't actually do enough to win that game 3-0 with the chances that we had. Also, every single Champions League game we've had this season, we've conceded a penalty in. Versus Bayern Munich, conceded a penalty because the ball brushed Erikson's arm. Versus Galatasaray, that was a penalty, obviously, because the penalty we conceded last night. Absolute load of rubbish. I'm sorry. I know that we won the game. I know ANANA saved the penalty, but I looked at that and I thought, how are they getting a penalty for that? When you think about like the foul on Rashford, was he offside? Was he onside? I'm thinking we've conceded a penalty every game, and 2 of the 3 penalties we conceded in Champions League are soft. I'm not making an excuse because we aren't good enough at the moment, but VAR, officials, all the decisions, I feel like are just out to get United. Just seem to be like against United at the moment as well. I hope we sign 2 CMs, Jan Evans and Gabby Viega, or Sombrini as Erikson's replacement. Horrible game by McTominay. And look, we've got to stop starting McTominay. He's not a starter. He's an impact player off the bench, and I think we all know that. And well, Man United are looking at midfielders, and we're gonna talk about that in just a second. I want to get into the first thing we learned, and then I'm going to talk about the midfielders that United are actually looking for, transfer news ahead of January, and more. So I think the first thing we learned from the win yesterday was that Erikson changed the game, and this is 2 games in a row where Erikson's come on, and all of a sudden we've been a much better team in the second half. And I think with Erikson, one of the reasons I think Erikson looks so much sharper this season and better is because his minutes are being managed properly. Erikson's one of those guys, he cannot play 90 minutes 2 games a week. He has to be managed properly. He's not got that athleticism, that fitness. He's had problems. He's getting to that age where he can't play every single minute of every single game 2-3 times a week. He's just going to struggle. But now Erikson's minutes are being managed properly. You can see actually his quality. You can see that actually he's good on the ball in the deeper areas. He can advance the ball. You can see that he's very good at progressing the ball forward, which is something that we struggle to do. You can see that, okay, although the game plan is to go long, at least Erikson could deliver those passes with some accuracy. Now, the problem with Erikson is, and the reason I wouldn't start him versus Manchester City, despite him being absolutely quality these last 2 games, is out of possession. He doesn't have the athleticism to cover a certain amount of grounds. Potentially, Erikson and Amrabat versus Man City in the pivot would work better than Erikson and Casemiro, because Amrabat covers a lot more ground than Casemiro. And potentially, if you put Mount in there instead of Bruno, because Mount puts more ground, potentially Erikson works versus Man City. Or potentially, if you have 4 midfielders in there, Erikson can work versus Man City. But the only worry with Erikson is out of possession. So we've got this brilliant player in possession, and we've seen how, it's so important that we have a player like Erikson who actually in possession can control the game, can pass the ball, and how much just one player made an impact on Man United. Like, this one player made such an impact, such a difference to United just because of his ability and quality on the ball. And you think, well, that's pretty mad that one player is really having an impact on us like that. But that is what Erikson brings. And it's just like, if only had that athleticism out of possession, if only he could do it week in, week out. And I think Erikson's a quality player. We all know he's a quality player. He's really helped these last few games. But it highlights how much we need to get a real Erikson replacement in. I know we're looking at Palacios. I know we're looking at Oscar Sambarini, whatever he's called, but he's more of a long-term Casemiro replacement, and we will talk about that as well. But this is 2 games in a row where Christian Erikson has come on for Manchester United, and he's given them so much more composure. He's looked so good on the ball. He's helped them on the ball. A team that was erratic, a team that couldn't make a few passes, at least Erikson gives us something on the ball. At least he's good in possession and can bring it forward. And Paul Scholes said some interesting things on Christian Erikson. I want to get into Paul Scholes' comments. Paul Scholes said on the second half, you bring in Christian Erikson, a much better footballer, and I mean no disrespect to Amrabat, he does what he has to do, but he doesn't build the game. I disagree with that. But he said Christian Erikson, yes, you saw the runs that were made. Fernandes is in the game, and the team looked like a real team again. Now, Paul Scholes is making it about Amrabat. Amrabat didn't deserve to come off. In fact, Erikson needs to go next to Amrabat, and I'm not sure why Amrabat came off, but what you've got with Erikson is a guy that, who can progress the ball forward, that is very tidy in possession. And it made Bruno a better player, because Bruno in the first half was absolutely dreadful, but Bruno Fernandes got miles and miles better in the second half. And you could see that, Christian Erikson coming on there, he instantly just made Bruno play better. He instantly made Bruno a better player because he was getting the ball to Bruno. And we just got better in that second half as well. And look, I don't like the way we're playing, but I like the Erikson's role of impacting games from the bench. I like his calmness, his composure, how he has an influence in possession. And the big question is now, do you start Erikson on Sunday? This is my question to you. Would you start Erikson on Sunday? Because of out of possession, he's going to struggle against Man City's athleticism. Erikson was brilliant the first half of last season for us as well. Brilliant technical IQ and best sub for now. Yeah, and the thing with Erikson is we saw last season how good Erikson was. Last season we saw how good Erikson was in the first half, and then he dropped off massively in the second half. And I think one of the reasons Erikson dropped off massively in the second half for Manchester United last season was purely, when you look at it, the fact that, he just was running out of fitness and energy. And I think now as minutes have been managed, you see a lot of a better player in Christian Erikson as well. Someone said, I'm sick of seeing wingers on the wrong wings. No need for fullbacks to come out because they know they're going to cut back in, says the Kettle. And we will be talking about that. But the second thing we're going to talk about is Manchester United. We need a centre mid that's good in possession. This obviously, Erikson obviously massively highlighted this today. But Manchester United are in massive need of a midfielder that's good in possession. And I like Mason Mount, and I can't understand why Mason Mount isn't getting the minutes. And I do feel a little bit sorry for Mason Mount at the moment. But I look at it and I think, why did we sign Mason Mount? I'm really asking some question marks because he's not known for being good in possession. We've all known that United need a midfielder that can retain the ball. We've all known that United need a midfielder that's good in possession and all of that stuff as well. And I have to say, we're not getting that. And it's so important that our next signing in the summer, we do a big signing in the summer, is a proper Erikson replacement. Maybe someone with ANANA's athleticism who off the ball can be physically strong and cover lots of ground, which Erikson struggles with. But we also need someone with Erikson's ability on the ball, a Maxence Kakare type player, a Palacios type player, a player that is comfortable in possession, dropping deep, getting the ball, progressing it, keeping hold of the ball, because you saw that we don't have that many profiles in midfield. You saw the lack of balance in the Manchester United midfield in the first half. There was absolutely zero balance in that Manchester United midfield in the first half. This McTominay as a 10 shadowing the striker was not working. Bruno couldn't get involved, and he was asked to do a role that he doesn't normally do. Amrabat was just being marked out of the game because there was a massive space between him and the other midfielders, and it didn't work. And then all of a sudden we bring in a midfielder that's sort of good in possession, and then you bring McTominay much deeper to play alongside him rather than leaving Erikson on his own, and you saw there was more balance in midfield. But the Man United midfield, it massively lacks balance. There's so many issues in the Man United midfield. And Ten Hag, this is when you have to put some question marks over Ten Hag. He cannot be stubborn anymore. If I am Erik Ten Hag, I've got to go, no, this McTominay experiment doesn't work. Okay, Bruno Fernandes, we need to utilise him properly or not play him at all because he's been poor. We need to be a bit more stubborn. We need to be a bit stricter in what we do, and you know, you've got to be critical of Erik ten Hag for that. And I have to say, all in all, the midfield has no balance, and we need a possession-based signing. I think Frankie de Jong would be perfect, but we know we're not going to get Frankie de Jong. We can sit here, we can speak, we can dream about Manchester United signing Frankie de Jong, but look, I know we're not going to sign Frankie de Jong as well. How poor Amrabat looked to me shows the issues with Casemiro this season. Our DMs are being absolutely left on their own. True. I do think defensively, though, Amrabat was fine. It was just like he was being marked out of the game in possession. And I think, you know, we need to stop leaving DMs on our own, as Alex has said. But you look at the game, you look at the performance, you look at Manchester United, and I just have to say, we need a possession-based midfielder, whether it's Max and Kakare, whether it's we go for Palacios, who we've been linked to, who I know United are looking at, whether we can actually get Frankie de Jong over the line, which I highly doubt. The most important thing that Man United need to do now is please go out there and get a possession-based midfielder as well. Al says this is Erik ten Hag's fault. He chose to waste the budget on Mason Mount, but he could have got Kakare or Enzo Lafi or Koku for peanuts. I mean, people will go on and ten Hag and say he's clueless, but at the end of the day, this is down to recruitment. Erik ten Hag shouldn't be, you know, Erik ten Hag has a say on who we sign, but actually, you know, this is down to the recruitment being useless. Erik ten Hag not trusting them. Erik ten Hag going for obvious names because we know that we don't have a good recruitment structure. So people can blame ten Hag for certain signings, but actually, it's, you know, we shouldn't be ten Hag relying on making the signings or ten Hag choosing. Ten Hag should have a say and influence. But, you know, Man City, you know, they went and found Doku for a winger. You know, Pep probably hasn't watched much of Doku. Man City scouts went and found Doku, said to Pep what he does, and Pep approves it after watching a few games of him. But I don't think that our board do that. You know, we don't have footballing people in the club, and that's something that holds us back. And obviously, smash the like button if you're like me and you would absolutely dream of Frankie de Jong, because he's an absolute dream for me, but it's true. Now, the third thing we've learned is that Varan is underrated. Okay, I feel like Varan gets a lot of stick, like an absolute lot of stick as well. And Manchester United have abandoned big money deals in January for Sporting Lisbon's Inacio and Todibo because of lack of funds. Oh, great. Breaking story coming out now saying apparently we're not going to get sent back in January because we're broke. Classic Manchester United. But going into it, Varan was immense. You know, Maguire scored the goal. Maguire, you know, redemption art, all of that. But Varan was the best of the two centre-backs yesterday in terms of a defensive performance. I thought Varan was absolutely fantastic. And I said this, you know, defensive performance is what wins you games. It was said here, I said this yesterday, I said, and this was my general thought in the game, I said the reason we won this UCL match and not the other two was because we defended well. Maguire and Varan were excellent today, particularly Varan. Even when it was not the prettiest performance, if you defend well, you don't lose. We defended enough that actually Copenhagen never really looked like scoring. It was just will Man United look like scoring, which was, you know, a little unconvincing at times because of how bad we were in possession for most of the game until the second half when we actually should have scored about 3. I said bad defending and sloppy mistakes resulted in us conceding 3 versus Galatasaray and 4 versus Bayern Munich. 2 games where I do think we were actually better on the ball because we scored, you know, 2 goals against Galatasaray, 3 goals against Bayern. But, you know, we were so poor defensively that we dropped points. Today, we were good defensively. We were composed off the ball, which meant that we didn't drop silly points. I said the second half was a lot better from United today, and Erikson was a big part of that. It's crazy to think we had enough chances to win 3-0, considering how bad we looked at times. I said defensively, we were good, but again, the way we play going forward is not sustainable. We managed to just get over the line and win the last 3 games, but I can't lie, it's not convincing. You know, I'm happy with Manchester United. I'm happy with the way we defended. I'm happy for the most part. But when you look at our last 3 wins, the way we've played the opposition, the fact that we just got over the line, it's not convincing because I look at how we play and it's so predictable. I look at there being absolutely zero balance in midfield. I do question ten Hag's tactics of having this kind of back 6, this big space, and then this front 4, leaving Amrabat, leaving Casemiro on their own. It's just exposing the DM. This is not the way that Erik ten Hag played at Ajax. And I'm not worried about ten Hag, say, because this, again, is not the way that Erik ten Hag played at Ajax. It's not the way Erik ten Hag lined up at all at Ajax. So I'm not worried about ten Hag in that aspect. I think that surely this is just a temporary adaptation to injuries and him not being back in the summer. Surely this isn't his plan. Surely this isn't his way that he hopes to play. Because if this is Erik ten Hag's plan, if this is Erik ten Hag's way or tactic that he hopes to play, then we'll be sitting there like, okay, well, I am a bit confused. I don't quite get that, but I don't think that is the case with that at all. But as I've said in my 4th thing that we learned from the game, I am still massively worried. You know me, big Manchester United fan, always try and be really positive. But I am worried just because there was nothing in that game other than the fact that maybe we could have scored 3 goals if we were more clinical. That actually convinces me that we're back just because we've won 3 games in a row. We've won 3 games in a row. Yes, we probably could have won this game 3-0, but you look at the opposition, you look at the way we played over 90 minutes, you look at how unsustainable it is, you look at how poor we've been for the most part, and really, I can't lie to you, I'm just not that massively convinced at all. Alex B says Varan is massively disrespected by rivals and some of our own fans as well. By far our best centre-back in the post-Sir Alex Ferguson era, in my opinion. And you know what? I agree. I think Varan is definitely one of the most disrespected centre-backs out there. And smash the like button if you agree. Varan is that Rio Ferdinand type. Yeah, and I think just because he's not, crazy good in build-up, people are critical of him. But it's like, whenever Varan is fit, we play better. All of our worst periods, all of our worst defensive games have come when Varan hasn't been able to start. I think like the amount of games, if you actually think about it, the amount of games Manchester United played in the last 2 seasons where we have conceded, 3+ goals. We probably had since Varan's joined, we've probably had about 13 games where we conceded 3+ goals. And I guarantee you Varan's played in about 3 of them. 90% of the games where we've conceded mass amounts of goals, Varan hasn't played through injury, and I think that is partly a coincidence, if you know what I mean. I'll be happy with a draw against City. Mate, I'd be gassed with a draw against City. The thing is, I hate drawing. I think drawing is oof. But for Man City, a draw we'll take as well. A win is a win, but it's not really enough against our recent level opponents. Literally nothing to build on from these matches. And that's the thing. I'm so happy with the win versus Copenhagen. I'm so happy that we got the win, that we got the 3 points. But when you look at the opponents we're playing and we're just scraping the win and there's not much more to take from it, you're like, If we played Liverpool, Newcastle, or Man City our last 3 games and got 3 wins and only just got 3 wins over the line, I'd be absolutely gassed because I'd be saying, look, these teams are better than us. We scraped it. We got 3 wins over the line. But we are better than Sheffield United. We are better than Brentford and we are a lot better than Copenhagen. But we didn't look like it. It looked like 2 even teams and we were the ones that managed to scrape it over the line. So I absolutely agree as well. The problem is some players lost confidence. The most important is some seriousness. They must go. Erik ten Hag isn't ruthless no more. Erik ten Hag wants to be ruthless. Erik ten Hag wants to get rid of a lot of players. Erik ten Hag wants to get rid of this player. Erik ten Hag wants to get rid of that player. There's a lot of things that people don't understand. There's a lot of things Erik ten Hag wants to do at Manchester United that he can't do. There's things I've heard. There's things that have been reported. There's rumours. Erik ten Hag's transfer plan and messages got leaked by good sources. It was made clear Erik ten Hag wants a right winger. He's not convinced by Antony. That has come out recently. Erik ten Hag wants 2 centre-backs and Erik ten Hag wants a number 8. Erik ten Hag's priority is a number 8 midfielder and Erikson replacement. He wants a long-term Casemiro replacement, which is 2 midfielders. He wants a right winger because he's not convinced on Antony. He wants 2 centre-back signings, but he's just been told and broken some news that he's not going to be able to get a centre-back signing in January because no funds, no value in the market, FFP, absolute nonsense from the Glazers. But Erik ten Hag, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't really want Antony. He doesn't really rate Antony. Yeah, generally doesn't. Erik ten Hag wants a proper Erikson replacement for next season. He wants 2 centre-backs to come in. He's also looking at right-backs, even though Delo and Wan-Bissaka have had pretty solid seasons. Like, there's a lot of things that Erik ten Hag wants to do. He almost sold McTominay. He almost sold Maguire, but it was the people above him that were so incompetent at selling, and the crazy wages they'd given out is that we couldn't sell them. So, players like McTominay, hopefully now Tonali's got that ban, will go to Newcastle in January and we can get 40 million for him and then we can invest that in a proper midfielder that's good in possession that we need. That's how I see it. And I think, ten Hag generally wants to be ruthless, but he's got Muppets around him. And yes, you could say maybe he could be more ruthless in terms of in-game management. Why does Bruno and Rashford always stay on? And I think it's just that the way we play, which is so bad at the moment, Bruno and Rashford are the only 2 players that can make something happen in the way that we play and make us win a game in the way we play. Bruno ball over the top, Rashford running behind. Obviously, Erikson was the one who put the ball in last time. But yeah, there's a lot of questions. But part of it, you have to say, actually, is this completely ten Hag's fault? Probably not. Harry Maradona with the goal. Your performance gave me massive hope for next Wednesday. You really need to play as a team. You have exceptional players. They need to know the roles. And I agree. I agree with Eric here. Man United, we have a better team than Copenhagen. But Copenhagen were in that game for a solid 45 minutes of it, looking a lot better than us. Because Copenhagen, when they play, they know they're right out of possession. They made it incredibly difficult for us to break through their lines, break past them. Copenhagen made it very difficult for us because they're a well-drilled team that know where they need to position themselves, and what they need to do. Manchester United, we don't know 100% our role. We don't have balance in midfield, and I do worry about the game going away to Copenhagen. I do worry because we know what we're like away from home. We only got by today. Yes, we missed a few chances. Yes, we could have won the game, but yeah, 100%. I do massively worry for that away fixture as well. We must sell McTominay and Maguire alongside with Sancho. I wouldn't sell Bruno. Take Van der Beek too. I don't blame Erik ten Hag, the board, who absolutely know nothing about football. I'd sell all those players bar Bruno. I know Bruno hasn't been brilliant, but I know that there's a good player in Bruno as well. Alex makes a good point. He says tactically, Erik ten Hag needs to step it up. I have no idea what we are doing out there. Bit of a lukewarm press, mostly counter-attacking as well. 100%. Erik ten Hag needs to step up. Players need to step up. But most importantly, those around Erik ten Hag at the top of the club need to step up. And unfortunately, they never will because they're selfish. Now, the fifth thing that we learned from the game is, and maybe that's just me, but I felt like Garnacho is our only impactful forward. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, okay, Garnacho's making an impact. This is good from Garnacho. Brilliant work from Garnacho. I felt watching that game like Garnacho was the only forward that whenever he got the ball, something was going to happen. Rashford looks absolutely lost. Antony's absolutely pony at the moment. And I think Antony makes the team play better and he does a lot off the ball, but Antony doesn't look like he's going to get a goal in his next 100 games. Like, Antony could play 20 games for United and not score. Marcus Rashford, I think, will score. I think we know he can score. He's just in this weird confidence bubble. But I know Garnacho missed a sitter, but Garnacho, when he comes on the pitch, he's the only attacker that I feel like looks like a threat. You know, Rashford and Antony just don't look like a threat at the moment. There's no... I'm not convinced that they're going to do anything. I know Rashford scored 30 goals last season. I'm sure we know what Rashford's capable of. But you just look at Antony and you think, you've been here 2 seasons, you've not been convincing. And then you think, Jadon Sancho, you absolute knobhead, your stupid ego, because I tell you what, I would have liked you on the right wing, creating for Højlund, but we can't go too deep into that. But I do think that Garnacho is Man United's forward, that if anyone's going to make an impact on the game, it's going to be him. But I have to say, the 6th point, and I know it's 5 things we learned from the game, is that Antony worries me the most. Out of all the players at Manchester United, Antony is that one that's just got me worried, because I just think, I haven't seen it. Rashford, I've seen it. Even though Rashford's crap at the moment, we've seen what he can do. Bruno's crap at the moment, we know what he can do. Antony, I don't know. Erik ten Hag signed Antony and Mount, and they will probably cost him his job, especially if he doesn't drop Rashford. I mean, Erik ten Hag signed Antony and Mount, but at the end of the day, if we had competent people around us, we would have signed a possession-based midfielder, and we probably wouldn't have spent that much money on Antony, or we would have got Antony at least for 40 million, so we'd have more funds left over to bring in someone like Gakpo on top of Antony. You've got to look at it like that. I think Mason Mount's been good. I think Mason Mount deserves a bit more game time than he's getting. And I personally don't want to give Mason Mount too much stick or too much hate, because I can't really understand why he's been dropped, because when he has played, he hasn't put a foot wrong. But when you look at what we needed in midfield, and I said this when we signed Mason Mount, we didn't need a player like Mason Mount. Everyone knew what Manchester United needed in midfield, and that wasn't a Mason Mount type player. And that's one thing that, yes, you do have to be quite critical of as well. Who would you buy, Sancho or Antony? This is the thing, in terms of quality, Sancho, but Antony works harder. If Sancho's going to drop and have attitude problems, I'd rather have Antony in the team, even though Sancho's a better player. 169 likes, guys. We've got nearly 300 people watching, so please do smash that like button. Let's see if we can get 100 likes in the next few minutes. We do need NIIKO Williams. So NIIKO Williams is going to be available for, believably, about 25-30 million in January, because obviously he's got 1 year left in his contract. Oh, I've got pins and needles in my leg now. You know that weird feeling when you get pins and needles in your leg? I can't really stand up though. But NIIKO Williams is believed to be available for around £25 million in January because of his contract situation. And I think, with Manchester United likely selling Jadon Sancho, probably going to loan Sancho because it's Man United. We won't be able to sell him because of his ridiculous wages. But I just think, Ten Hag looked at NIIKO Williams in the summer. In the summer, NIIKO Williams was one of the names that Manchester United were looking at. And Ten Hag actually, said, I'm open to selling Sancho and bringing in NIIKO Williams. We know that in the summer through a credible leak. So I think, well, look, Ten Hag wanted this guy in the summer. We're still scouting this guy, and he's going to be available for dirt cheap in January. Antony's been crap, and we're losing Jadon Sancho. Surely, even though we've got no funds, FFP, no value in the market crap that United used to spin out all of the time, surely you go there and you go, yeah, NIIKO Williams, let's go and let's put a deal in for NIIKO Williams. Surely that's what we should do. Not do I think we'll do it? Probably not, but I think it's what we should do as well. Garnacho immediately improves us when he comes on. He gets the fans out their seat 100%. We always look so much better when Garnacho comes on as well. I don't think we miss Sancho. I mean, I don't think we miss Sancho because he's not been good enough for United when he's been here. But like, I just think that Antony is not effective enough. It would just be nice to have that option, because I think Sancho's last few games and in pre-season showed glimpses, and we know that Sancho, you know, with Antony, I don't know what his ceiling is, but we knew that Sancho has a high ceiling. We've not seen it at United. We know that Rashford has a high ceiling. We've just not seen it this season. With Antony, it's like, oh, what do we do as well? Do you know NIIKO Williams is a left winger, right? NIIKO Williams can play left and right wing, but he's mostly played right wing. I've watched him play, and I've looked at his statistics. He's played about 80% of his games on the right wing. So he can play on the left. He has played on the left. He's versatile, but he is predominantly a right wing. We're also looking at Kubo of Real Sociedad for the right wing position as well, which I do think would be a very good shout. Obviously, reports are coming in that United have dropped interest in transfer targets because there's no money to spend in January, which is a joke. But there's one more thing I want to get into before I end the live stream and all of that as well, because we've obviously done our 5 things we've learned and a bit more of an analysis on the game. But I want to talk about the boy, ANANA. You know, have to say, ANANA, when he's played with Maguire, has had 4 games, 4 wins, 0.5 goals conceded per game, 1 open play goal conceded. The Maguire-ANANA partnership, you know how ANANA shouted at Maguire, you know, at the start of the season and pre-season, and then ANANA apparently got called a bully. ANANA got accused of bullying Maguire by those absolute idiots who are pundits for some reason who think ANANA was bullying Maguire, but they've actually got a bit of a solid relationship going on here, and let's give Andre ANANA some credit where credit is due as well, because Andre ANANA's statistics, all of this stuff on ANANA versus Copenhagen, you know, 4 out of 4 saves, 1 penalty save, 1.69 XG prevented. Yes, he's lost us 2 points in the last Champions League game, but Andre ANANA, without a doubt, won Manchester United 2 points back today. So smash the like button for Andre ANANA, people. Subscribe down below if you're new, and of course, share the video as well. I'd like to know what's going on with Mount. No, not the ilk of centre mid we needed, but hardly our worst player either. Surely want to get him on a pitch, even as a sub. 100%. I'm going to do some research on Mount. I'm going to be back from 6 till 7. We've got guests coming on later. We're going to be doing a much longer live stream tonight. So we'll be talking about Mason Mount, the game, some news, getting into more analysis and that. But people, please do smash that like button. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. We need Nusa. We actually are looking at Nusa. The attackers that we're looking at are Nusa, Kubo, NIIKO Williams, Pedro Neto, and then Yeremy Pino. Now, I think Yeremy Pino is absolutely trash, and I do think, why are we looking at Yeremy Pino? But it's very obvious that it's not just the right winger that United are looking at, but they want a right winger with versatility that they feel can play across the 3. Now, I think NIIKO Williams and Nusa are probably the best fit, or Kubo has probably been unbelievable, but I'm not sure if Kubo is the style of winger that Erikson potentially wants. We'll have to ask some question marks over that, but they are the right wingers that we've been looking at. Erikson is obviously growing very frustrated with Antony. He's been looking at a lot of right wingers, so that will be interesting to see what happens, and of course what advances there. And then I think if you look deeper into it, we're obviously looking at many centre-back names as well. People, make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football. Share the video and all of that good stuff. I'm going to wrap up the live stream here because it's only meant to be a short 5 things we've learned. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.